Welcome back to another episode of Right Here in Mass. I'm super excited to have Erica Richard joining me today. Erica runs sales, marketing, and content creation at the New Bedford Guide. And I know that this is going to be a really great episode as we talk all about the South Coast and what Erica does with supporting small businesses and giving them lots of visibility. So, Erica, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. As I shared with our listeners just now, I gave a brief overview of what you do, and I know that your full bio will be in our show notes, but I'd love to give you the opportunity to give an overview of who you are and what you do and how you got here today.
Oh, it's been a journey to get here. For those that are listening and don't know, I know Ashley since college, so we didn't have the same. I'm no longer in the same kind of realm that what I went to school for, which was biochemistry, and I've kind of switched over to like the marketing, business side of this world. I run as Ashley said, the marketing, sales, content creation for New Bedford Guide. And New Bedford Guide is the largest media outlet in the south coast of Massachusetts. We have many different guide pages that fall under the New Bedford Guide, including Fall River Reporter, Fall River Guide, Dartmouth Guide, Fairhaven Guide. Any guide page you can think of in the south coast falls under our umbrella, and that equates to about 550,000 followers across the South Coast, including our websites, New Bedford Guide and Fall River Reporter. Those get about 1 million readers per month. So
Amazing.
it's a huge number. We have a huge reach. We get more engagement than any kind of media source around us. So our phones are always blowing up with notifications. So people are engaging in our content. They love our content. And what my role is to really work with businesses in our area, anything from a really small business to a large corporation. And I help market their business on our social media and our websites. Not only do I help market them, I also create content for them for our page. So they get the best of both worlds. They get the reach from our website and our social media, but then they also get the production value as well.
Yeah, and so you're wearing many different hats within your
Oh,
role
yeah.
and doing many different
Many,
things.
many. Every day is different. Not one day is the same.
Which honestly, I feel like that's the beauty of what we do in marketing is that everything is totally different. Like you're not stuck in that monotony. You always have new projects to get your hands into, and it's just nice to have like such fresh perspectives and ideas and things to be able to work on.
Absolutely. And every business that we work with essentially has different goals, different people they want to reach. So, really getting creative with what we're creating for them and how they want to present on our social media or our website is new and exciting every day.
Yes, absolutely. And as you alluded to, you had originally started your career in biochemistry, which is what you had majored in college, and of course, you made a really exciting shift into like this marketing communications field. And so I would love to have you or give you the opportunity to share with our listeners like what sparked that change and some exciting things that you've seen have come out of it or things that you've been really passionate about since doing that.
Well, yeah, as you said, I started with biochemistry. And weirdly enough, I feel like I really never did anything with biochemistry after college. So I did go on a little bit of a road trip across the US after college because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with the biochemistry degree. I originally thought maybe I'd go into pharmacy, worked in a pharmacy, absolutely hated it, was like never going to work in a pharmacy. So I was kind of lost because I had like, I feel like this dream of what my life would be after college. And then I realized very quickly senior year like that's not for me. So I decided to travel across the US with my who's now my husband. We converted a Chevy Astro van. We made it into like a little like camper essentially, and we kind of traveled around really not knowing what we wanted to do or where we were going to go. And we landed in Arizona. We loved the Southwest. It was beautiful out there, and we decided to start applying for some jobs. And we thought the change would be good for us, taking ourselves out of that environment to kind of grow. Because I never had really left New England before.
Yeah.
And I took the opportunity to grow my career or grow myself. And I found a job working for a nursing college where I worked in a simulation lab, which is essentially they create these simulated hospitals to train nursing students. And I did that for a while, and then I progressed in that career where I became the national manager of their labs, which included growing their campus across the country and building out those labs, training the people in those labs. A lot of travel. We were going to about we grew up to about 18 campuses across the country before I left. And that's when I started to notice when I was doing that, on top of another kind of key point in I guess, my career, is I was growing all these campuses and I realized, wow, I love kind of the business side of these things. I love the operations. I love managing people. I actually kind of grew away from the biochemistry side, the science side of things. I didn't remember the last time I touched a petri dish or did anything with DNA. And I was like, wow, I really do like this kind of business side of things. That on top of my husband has always owned his own media company, Grand Summit Media LLC. He was working on this while I was doing my normal job. And he had the opportunity to go for a opening bell ceremony for the NASDAQ to basically get content from it, video, photo, things of that nature. And he invited me along because it'd be kind of like a nice day trip. And I absolutely fell in love. He gave me a camera. I was running around with the camera, getting content for people. And I realized how much fun I had. And I was always kind of dabbling in that. Me and my husband been together for 11 years. So we'd always kind of do fun vlogs or kind of fun like content creation type things. But this is the first time I did it for work with him. And it really clicked. I was like, wow, we could do this together, and that always kind of stuck in the back of my mind, and that's kind of what kind of sparked my interest to get my MBA. And I decided I was going to do my MBA in just 1 year. I was like, I'm going to take the least amount of time with it, and I stayed dedicated. I finished it in a year. I finished in May, and soon after that I was like, okay, I'm going to jump all in on this. So I kind of switched to the business side of world from there.
Yeah, I love that. And with getting your MBA, were you still working at the simulation lab until you graduated and then kind of transitioned over?
Yeah, so I was still working for the nursing college. I was working remotely, but again, a lot of travel. There was some weeks I was traveling, like I was traveling every week, Florida, California, Nevada, everywhere. So it was a lot to take on to going to school, but I was doing it from home. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was still doing my normal, regular job.
And what was that like be like leaving your other job behind and now starting within your role within the New Bedford Guide? Because you're technically self-employed, is that right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what was that change like of going from having that like 9 to 5 role and then now being your own boss like your husband?
It was scary at first. I'm so glad I have my support system of my husband because he's very entrepreneurial minded. And, he's really encouraging when I took that step, like that we can
Mhm.
do this. It might be a few step backs at first. I'm learning things. I might get frustrated, which I did, especially editing and learning all these new tools. And even just going to go talk to people. A lot of it at first was a lot of like cold walk-ins or, hey, I'm with New Bedford Guide. Nice to meet you. That was kind of uncomfortable at first for me because I was so used to Zoom calls. Even though I talk to
Yeah.
people all day long, you would think that it'd be comfortable for me to kind of just go up to somebody and say, "Hey, this is what I do." But it was kind of weird at first to see that person and see that person in person for the first time and say, "Hey, this is what we do and what we cover." Um, Especially, I felt like I wasn't comfortable knowing exactly everything that we do in our reach. I think it took me a little bit of time to understand, how big our reach is, the kind of content that engages people. Getting that creative side out of me took some time. So it definitely was scary, but now I feel like I've warmed up to it. I know what our audience likes and how I can help market businesses as well. And I'm not afraid to like, say, I think this is the best way forward based on what I know. So I'm a
Mhm.
little bit more comfortable in my own role now, which has made it a lot easier.
Yeah. And I mean, you have so much incredible work to showcase for that. Like you produce so much work and have had your hands in so many projects that demonstrates that you are an expert within this field and know what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's also something that, I mean, I can always get better at, but really showing off past work that we've done and, our track record of how much engagement we have. I mean, we have videos with hundreds of thousands of views, same with articles and, photos and any way we can market a business that we have a great track record of what we do and utilizing that to get more clients or, even just using it as like a little confidence boost that, hey, this really
Yeah.
did work. But yeah, that took some time to kind of build up that kind of catalog, even though New Bedford Guide has been running for many, many years since 2009. I'd like to, show like work that I've done and did the video on and produced, right? So it did take some time to kind of build that up a little bit to show off.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you had, of course, had your first taste really of this industry by doing the opening bell ceremony for the NASDAQ with your husband, like what was the opportunity that led you to begin working with the New Bedford Guide? I'd love to hear about how that connection was made.
Yeah. So essentially, when I was working my regular 9 to 5 job, my husband connected with Mike, who owns New Bedford Guide and all of the guide pages. And he met him kind of honestly by chance. Like I said, my husband was working on his own media company. He actually had a flight delay and was kind of just searching online, scrolling through Facebook, and he saw that there was a job posting as a journalist for New Bedford Guide. And he looked through what that entails. He's like, oh, that seems interesting. Everyone kind of knows New Bedford Guide, especially I'm from New Bedford. So we're familiar with the pages. So he decided to apply and ended up meeting with Mike, and Mike hired him. And he was doing 2 articles a day while I was kind of doing my regular job. And that quickly flourished for him from just doing 2 articles a day to all the video based things that he's really, really good at. And the partnership really, really grew. And kind of towards the time of my MBA, Mike was talking to Steve about, wanting somebody to do a little bit more sales and marketing of businesses in our area. And it kind of turned that conversation to, how about your wife? Would she want to do something like this? So, they basically wanted to duplicate my husband Steve and have another person. So it kind of their partnership really grew. We love our partnership with Mike and Bedford Guide. So we kind of just tagged along to need an extra body, extra person doing what Steve was already kind of getting himself into.
Yeah. And I think it's like when you first told me when we caught up, if you like last week, about how Steve was producing 2 articles a day, like I write a lot and I was like, I could not even do 2 articles a day. Like that's a lot of content to be writing and everything. And so when you said that, I was like, wow. And I think it's so cool to think about how that progressed from just written content to now visual content with the photography and videography that you both have been doing.
Yeah, like anything that is really an article that he would write about could be done in a video format. And that's kind of what we do with marketing too, is like we have this one piece of content that we can then distribute in many different ways. For the people that are really focused on the reading aspect, it will write an article about whatever we're trying to promote.
Hmm.
And then we'll actually tag the video that we've made in the article. So they all kind of feed into each other. We still utilize all those avenues for marketing.
Hmm.
But yeah, he was writing those articles, but then kind of doing all the video stuff on the side, just kind of for fun, because we have that reach in New Bedford, and we'd be like, going to a pizza shop and already getting pizza. We're like, why not make a video about this? And people loved it. So it was kind of like we're vlogging our life and things happening in New Bedford and business owners. And people love that type of content, and it was for fun, but also it got a lot of engagement. It kind of grew from there.
Yes. And so when you came on within your role focusing on sales and marketing, like what are the exact, I'd say projects or tasks that you typically work on within that?
Oh, we have a wide variety of different clientele. Everything from a yoga studio, fitness kind of realm, to selling, vehicles. You know, we have uh, we have real estate. Um, we have banks. We have dispensaries. Um, really anything you can think of. They're not all really the same.
Mhm.
But one thing that I've kind of gravitated towards a lot is those female-owned businesses. New Bedford Guide, I believe, and this changes day by day, but it's about our audience is about 65, 60% women-ish. So there is a huge engagement on women-owned businesses. People love supporting women-owned businesses in this area, especially on our platform. So I've found it a lot easier being a woman myself, connecting with those women, especially a lot of them that I've met have taken a chance of leaving their regular 9 to 5 and kind of started their own ordeal. So I've also resonated with that.
Mhm.
So those have been really my kind of people that I love working with. Um, so that's kind of been my niche, but we work with everyone. Our clients range is huge.
Yeah, and it's nice that you have such that big depth ultimately of the industries and types of businesses that you work with. And I know that a lot of the work that you do involves, like you said, the video production and
Mhm.
like the article writing and whatnot. But what are some other typical like job duties, quote unquote, you also focus on?
So we have different pillars of content that we do, like you said, the videos, the articles, but we do a lot of event promotion too, and sometimes that does include the articles and videos that go before it, but sometimes that's going live at the event on Facebook. That tends to do really, really well. People love seeing what kind of event is going on, and then we do it usually typically early into the event so that people can come the next day if it's a multi-day event, whatever that looks like. Photo galleries as well for business. We have that photography background too, so we can take some nice photos. Um, Other things we do is podcasting. So many of my clients have their own podcast show. We produce them. We have our own podcasting studio at the Kilburn Mill in New Bedford. And we bring clients in to utilize our studio. We produce it. We clip them for social media for them. Sometimes those clients, those clips go on New Bedford Guide as well. Sometimes it's just for their own social media. Um, so we also do that. What other things do I do? There's a bunch. We also manage social media accounts. So I have several clients that I am logged into their account and I'm posting for them on top of some of their content going on New Bedford Guide. So typically, when we start with a new business, we kind of figure out exactly what their goals are. Do they want us to, work just on their own social media accounts? And if not, if they want to go also on New Bedford Guide, how many times a month are we posting on New Bedford Guide? What kind of content is going on New Bedford Guide? So it can be a mix of both worlds too for them.
Yeah, that's interesting. And one thing that like I'm so impressed by is just how much content you all are producing, like all different forms of content too. And so I'm curious to hear from like a marketing perspective, if you have like an editorial calendar or something that really outlines that, because I'm so fascinated by how you organize it and just keep track of it all.
Well, like I said, that they pretty much duplicated my husband when I started. So I've taken some of the clients that are kind of like we both help out with both, but
Mhm.
some mine like I'm communicating with the business. I'm the one posting and keeping track of what needs to be posted, and he's taking care of others. So we do split the role, even though it's kind of one business together.
Mhm.
But one thing, like is we keep really good track of there's certain amount of content that needs to come out each month, and it's like checking a box. Like we have this many photo galleries, this video has to be edited. We do have an editor that we just brought on, so getting some stuff to them to edit also is helpful. But yeah, we kind of keep track. It's really Excel sheets for me. I'm really big on Excel. I have all my clients kind of listed out what they need for the month, and it's kind of they're green, they're yellow, they're red. This still needs to get done by the end of the month, and we kind of fill it up from there. So it's and also utilizing the meta back end of scheduling as well is so helpful. Like we'll schedule things out for the month ahead of time. Um, but yeah, really, honestly, Excel is my thing.
Yeah. And I feel like that makes sense knowing what your role was previously, like just being within like the business operations aspect. I feel like Excel is probably your love language.
Oh yeah, and it came really pretty easily to me doing a lot of data kind of things. I'm pretty organized, so that's kind of my strong background. Where my husband's a little bit more creative than me, so we kind of balance each other out that way. But yeah, we make sure that we know what needs to be done for each client each month, and we cover those bases. They typically give us, I would say, a good amount of freedom to post when and wherever we want.
Yeah.
And there's just a few clients that things need to go through compliance first before we post, but usually it's pretty open, like just post regularly.
Oh, that's great then.
Yeah.
And I know that one thing that you said you do within your role is also focus on sales and how it used to be really nerve-wracking for you to just walk into new places and introduce yourself. And a lot of our listeners are newer business owners who do feel intimidated by sales and cold outreach and making those relationships. And so I'd love to ask you, like, for advice along those lines or what you've learned has worked, just being able to put yourself out there more as a business owner.
Yeah, I think just getting more involved in the community is a huge piece of what's made me a little bit more comfortable talking to people and who knows who and, what are they doing? What are they working on? So, besides my role at New Bedford Guide, I've also am on the board of the Young Professionals group, YPG New England. That is a group that does a lot of networking events and they incorporate raising money for charity as well. So I've gotten myself involved going to those events, and now I'm on the board as of this month. So it'd be kind of my first month starting that. But, start finding those groups around you that are involved in your community. Go to those networking events because everyone's there to network. It's a little bit awkward maybe at first, but that's what everyone's there for is to kind of meet each other and know what they're doing in their community. Also, utilizing Facebook and Facebook groups. I've gotten a lot of leads from Facebook groups, knowing, somebody's already trying to promote their business online, sending them a message saying, "Hey, just want to introduce myself. This is Erica with New Bedford. This is what I do. Love to talk to you one day," and just a lot of times I didn't get an answer, and that's okay. I kind of just kept moving on, not taking it to heart. But some of those people be interested, just get coffee with you and make it a low pressure situation of you just want to kind of talk to them and get to know them and what they do. And then hopefully your services can help them out. But really like searching the internet. Luckily with New Bedford Guide, we have a huge reach. We do get a lot of leads coming in anyway. People
Yeah.
messaging us on a regular basis. We get thousands of messages a day, some of those being some leads of people that want to do advertising, especially once they see some of the ads that we do. We try not to make our content seem very advertising. But some people see, like, for example, if I just did a post for somebody that was a esthetician that blew up. I think it had over 219,000 views on
Oh
Facebook.
my gosh.
My inbox for the next week was kind of filled with estheticians saying, "Hey, I saw that. How does that happen?" So or I'd love to meet you. So it is a chain kind of reaction. But yeah, if you're just getting into um, sales, I mean, the worst they can say is no. I guess that is kind of what I thought is like they're not gonna be mean to you. Just the worst they're going to say is no, and you can move on and you've made
Yeah.
that connection because you never know. I've had clients that I talked to at first that were like, no, or not this time. And you kind of disappointed. But then a couple months later, they circle back around after they've seen some of the things that you're doing or you've connected with them and then they come back in your mind and they reach back out again. So no meeting is not worth your time.
Yes, and you nailed it when you mentioned that, like, the worst they can say is no, because that reminds me of one of my favorite mantras, which is pretty similar to that, but it's like if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So it's like you have to really
Yeah.
put yourself out there. And like you said, you might not get a response or you might get someone who says they're not interested, but it's the idea of consistently putting in that effort and knowing that it will pay off, I think is really, really important.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, kind of building up that base of what I've put out on social media. So all the videos and the photos and the articles that I've done, I've noticed a lot more. The more content I'm putting out there, the more people are reaching out to me because they see that content, right? So not being
Mhm.
afraid to put yourself out on social media and create content that you like. And to kind of tell the world a little bit more about yourself can get a lot of people engaging in your content and then could be a lead for you.
Yeah, you nailed it. And one thing that I always think about too is I love the creative field. Like I love creating content and marketing and communications and all of that stuff, but I feel like it also can be creatively draining in a sense. Like it can really
Mhm.
deplete your energy and being able to come up with fresh ideas. And I'm really curious to hear about how you kind of keep that open for yourself, like knowing that you're producing such great content for your clients so often. Like, how do you get your creativity and inspiration?
Oh, that's a good question. I think really engaging in the product that they are selling. For example, One of my clients is a yoga and cycle studio. I personally go to that studio now because they are my client. I utilize their service and I know their instructors and I know the vibe in there. And that really helps me really kind of sell the product because I am using it. I think really getting close with my clientele, learning a lot about them, having regular meetings and, you know, understanding what they want and keeping that open too, as well is so important. And, you know, also just trying different things.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily having to post the same type of video, trying, you know, thinking outside of the box. For example, like with our car dealership videos that we've been doing. We're trying something new where they let us bring the car out for the day and we're going to different coffee shops or things in New Bedford, but we're also mentioning the car that we're driving from that place. So like instead of just saying, hey, these are the cars for sale, you know, thinking of creative things as well that can also sell their product. Like I said, my husband's more of the creative mind, so he definitely comes up with a lot of these different ideas. And I kind of just like make sure it's implemented and done. But you know, I think really from my perspective, the ones that I kind of covered too is really, you know, getting to know my client on a personal level, and actually utilizing their products too completely helps. It's kind of like a influencer style type
Yeah,
marketing in a way, but
it is.
locally.
Yeah. And I mean, the content that you both produce is just incredible. And like you said, I mean, it's when people see these videos or read these articles, like these businesses think, okay, well, now I want that for my business. So the work that you produce is like your biggest referral base ultimately because people see it and now they want it and now they're reaching out.
Absolutely. So yeah, we know that every single time that we do a video for somebody or a piece of content, we know that all these eyes are on it. 500,000 people are seeing this or more. So we want to make sure it's good quality. We do not want to put out bad quality content out there because not only it's our client. We care about our client, and I want them to succeed. Nothing makes me happier than as you know, we went to get coffee at Coffee Milano, and he was very happy with the video that I did for him, and he said I think it really helped. He gave me a little credit of him going viral, but that's but you know, it is rewarding for a place like that to hear when I come back the next time that there was a line out the door after the video or people told them that they never heard of this place before, but now they're trying it out for the first time because they saw it on New Bedford Guide. That means a lot to me. So I do care very much so about the product we're putting out because those reasons about the impact it can have on that business. But it also is kind of like my resume. You know, if I don't put out
Yeah,
good content, then, you know, I'm not going to have a good reputation. The brand hurts, you know, it hurts the brand. So, you know, everything we put out is important.
absolutely. And with having your hands involved in so many different projects and being a part of so many different initiatives, how do you juggle your time and how do you have, I don't necessarily believe in like a work-life balance, like a perfect balance, but how do
Mhm.
you have somewhat of a balance in that sense?
Oh man, I really am a workaholic. I really, you know, I enjoy what I do, so it doesn't feel like work. So I'll just be like on my computer all day doing different things, editing or, you know, engaging with content online and coming back to people and, you know, putting out articles and, you know, even if it's not even for a client, just for New Bedford Guide in general, like something really exciting happened in New Bedford and I want to get something out on it, a video or whatever that looks like. Like I actually really enjoy doing it. So it doesn't feel like I wake up and go to work every day. So I think that really helps the balance. It's never really draining to me. You know, so I think really managing our time well with a calendar, really putting in what I'm going to be working on a certain day or things when things are due are super important because a lot of times editing is a long process. I mean, it can take, you know, several sessions of sitting down at your computer and editing. So really putting due dates of like, this is when this video needs to be done helps me out too. So even though if I might not work on it during that certain time block, I know it has to be due by that day, at least in my mind, like I want it done by that day.
Mhm.
But yeah, just organizing a calendar, my Excel sheets to kind of keep me track. But really, it's such fun work. I mean, I get to, you know, try out different restaurants or go to a yoga class or, you know, drive around a car for the day. Like it doesn't seem like work. So that kind of really helps. And that's why I encourage everyone to do is kind of find something that, you know, feels like not work to them and that they enjoy doing. And then you don't really feel like that burnout.
Right. It's like the idea of taking a hobby and being able to monetize
Mhm.
it and or taking a passion and being able to turn it into a business. Like I always think that those end up being the most successful businesses because it's something that you truly felt interested in and truly loved, and now you just turned it into your job, really.
Yeah, and even like if I'm not even doing something client work, but I'm like connecting with another business owner, getting coffee, and they're not a client yet, but I'm just chatting with them about what I do. Like that's so exciting to me that I get to meet new people, and meet people that are doing great things in our community. I've met so many people through this line of work, and it's amazing my network that has grown in this community, and especially being from New Bedford, the South Coast,
Mhm.
it means that much more because this is home for me. So
Yeah.
it's so nice to know, what everyone in the community is doing and getting connected with them and having, a good rapport with them. Um, every day is a different day, meeting different people, doing different things, but it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, I love that. And it must be a full circle moment for you to have grown up in New Bedford and now work for like the biggest publication on the South Coast that is the New Bedford Guide, like from your hometown.
Yeah, no, I would have never guessed. I'll tell you that much. I thought I would be doing something completely different, and I don't mind it.
Yeah, I love that. And so at the time of this recording, we're in January, so it's the
Mhm.
start of the new year. I'd love to hear what's next for you this year, like any new exciting projects you're working on or things that you feel really passionate about that's coming up.
So one thing that's not really connected with New Bedford that I'm pretty excited about is that I started with my best friend from high school a walking club. So it's called Southcoast Girls Walk. It's really inspired a lot by my work at New Bedford. I honestly, like I meet, like I said, my niche is a lot of times women-owned businesses that I'm talking to that gravitate towards my content, especially when it's on my own page. I'll get a lot of messages from women-owned businesses. So I've met a lot of them throughout, this last year working with New Bedford Guide. So I really enjoy connecting with them and I enjoy fitness. I'm really into yoga, things of that nature. So my friend and I were on a trip to Florida and we saw that they had this girls walking group that meets every week. We were going to join them, but we got rained out, but we loved the idea of it. We were obsessed with the idea with it. We were like, we need to like do this at home. There's nothing like this here. So that we're starting, and it will be starting in the spring. Right now, we're really in the planning stages of everything. But we really hope it brings a community of women together that want to connect with each other. We know how hard it is to make friends as an adult. So we really hope that women are able to connect with each other and make a new friend or a new connection. Maybe they do own a business, and they want to, expand their network, and it's a network opportunity for them. We've actually had a lot of women join our group that are much older and retired and don't have anyone to really walk with, they've said, and this would be a nice way for them to make a friend. So I think it's going to bring a lot of women together. We're going to be doing different walks across the South Coast, one different one each week, and sprinkling in maybe a visit to a coffee shop or getting a coffee truck there at the walk or something of that sort,
Fun.
to kind of bring us together, because we love coffee and walking and exercise, and women. So
Yes, and I'm super excited for it personally. And I think it's especially great that you're bringing it into the South Coast because that's one thing that I don't necessarily feel frustrated by. I don't know if that's the right word, but sometimes I feel like there's FOMO, like not living in Boston. Because I feel like a lot of that type of stuff is in the city, like all of the cool events, all of the cool clubs and organizations are all in the city. And so it can be hard living in the suburbs and not having those same opportunities or not wanting to travel in and out of the city all the time. And so I think it's so great that you're bringing it to the South Coast so that way people who are down here have the opportunity to engage in that sense.
Uh, Absolutely. I think we kind of talked about this when we connected last week, but I had no desire to live in Boston. No hate to Boston. That just wasn't my lifestyle that I wanted to have for myself. So, moving to Arizona was a little bit bigger of a city, and then moving back, you start to be like, wow, there's a lot of things out west that we don't have here. Or, there's different restaurants or franchises and things of that nature. And I think the South Coast is growing. I think that we are starting to get a lot of those pieces into place. And I think that we need a lot more of it too here. So it's good that, I'd love to start something like that here in the South Coast that can bring people together, an opportunity that you might only see in a city like Boston or, where we were was Naples. New York, I know has one. So something a little bit more for those people that are in the suburbs.
Yeah, and you're right too about so many changes happening here. I mean, there's a lot of development happening
Mhm.
with like the downtowns of a lot of towns around here with like new businesses and restaurants and stuff like that, and also just new activities. And so I think it's great to focus on that revitalization almost,
Yeah.
especially as you and I chatted about with New Bedford having an unfortunate like stigma or stereotype,
Mhm.
like rewriting that narrative and showing that it's not what people think it is.
Yeah, and that's what I love about my line of work with New Bedford Guide. Of course, New Bedford Guide is a media source. We do cover news, so there is going to be, um, you know, some things that are happening that are not the most, sunshine and rainbows that happen in New Bedford. But I love that I get to cover all of the kind of, happy, good things with businesses and what they're putting out into the community. And I think that has really grown even since I've started. I think that there is a lot of new businesses coming here. There's always something new and exciting, new events, new people bringing ideas. We have, I believe, the most like artists per capita in the country. So there
Wow.
is a lot going on in New Bedford, and it's so great to highlight that because there is a lot of positivity.
Yes, absolutely. And
Mhm.
I feel like this question will be tough for you, knowing that you have so many choices to pick from, but I would love to hear what your favorite local businesses are to support in the area.
Oh, uh, that is so tough. I love food and coffee, hence why the girls walk. I always go get coffee somewhere or want to eat. That is so tough, Ashley. That is not a fair question. What are some of my favorites? Man, I mean anything in downtown New Bedford, especially with the Kilburn Mill being right there too, and
Mhm.
everything in the Kilburn Mill has been so exciting to kind of explore. Now that we're kind of doing the marketing with them, there's like 160 different businesses in the Kilburn Mill, which is amazing. They're all local owned businesses, or you know um, people starting their business for the first time, or businesses that are, established, have office space or a storefront there. So that's been a lot to explore. If you haven't been to the Kilburn Mill in New Bedford, that is something that is amazing what they've done with that mill to revamp it. They have
Mhm.
yoga studios. They have this new Legree place, which is a whole different type workout. So they have a lot of gyms. They have different storefronts, vintage stores, people that do crafts, artists, anything you can think of is mixed into this one little piece of New Bedford in a mill. So I really do like, getting to know the people there and all the small businesses in there, but also downtown New Bedford, which is right down the road. I mean, we have the Black Whale, which I love. That's one of my favorite restaurants in New Bedford, around the waterfront. I haven't got to try the new Candela Cucina. That used to be Carmine's. That's new. I have to try that out. But ground floor coffee is a great option down there. Even Green Bean, all those coffee shops. Anything in downtown is I feel like one of my favorite places to go.
Yeah, I love that. Erica, this has been a really fun episode, and I've appreciated the opportunity to have you come on the show. And I would love to now have you share with our listeners where they can find you online in case they'd like to connect further.
Yeah, if they want to connect further with me, you can find me on, well, first of all, you can email me at erica@newbedfordguide.com. Easiest way to get in touch with me is through email. And then my Instagram handle is ericarichard.19. Feel free to follow me. I'm a public profile, so I share a lot of things behind the scenes of things that I'm doing, and a lot of my videos end up going on there as well as New Bedford Guide.
Perfect. And I'll link to those places in the show notes that where listeners can click through and connect with you from there. But thank you so much again for coming on today's show.
Thanks, Ashley. Thank you for having me. This is so much fun.